I thought this was very funny right here. And before I get into this, let me give a shout out to Jay Lava on YouTube. Make sure if you have not done so already to go subscribe to his podcast. I actually did a collab with him a couple weeks ago. And I came across one of their streams, and they were talking about Tucker Carlson, or as they like to call him, Carlson Tucker. And here he is yet again making that deer in the headlights looking face. Is between this one and another one that he likes to always make, that he tries to look confused about whatever it is that he's talking about, but he knows damn well what he's talking about. But as you can see in the picture, it says census white population declines for the first time. Now, I never did an actual video talking about it. I know Lisa talked about it on her channel, but anytime I can throw something into Tucker Carlson's face, I'm definitely going to talk about it. And it just happens to be that this is one of those times, and it happens to surround itself around the census for 2020. So in case y'all are unaware, and I'm sure the article is going to reiterate it, the census numbers went out last week, and I'm recording this on August 17, 2021, just in case it doesn't go up until like the following week. Last week, the census numbers went out, and for the first time ever in census history, the white population saw a decline. It wasn't a huge drop, but it was a drop nonetheless. While other groups of people numbers went up, theirs went down. And this isn't something that's surprising to any of us who have been talking about this for a while, that the white population, or the PC population, was going to see a decline. Now, we said that their numbers were going to be almost non-existent by the year 2045. That's what they projected, that by 2045 they were going to be not so much non-existent, but to the point where they were going to fall into a minority class, because they've been majority since the inception of America. And then, around the globe, their influence is heavy, but around the globe, they're actually in a minority. They don't make up that much of the globe, but in America, they do. So I'm just keeping it strictly based on the U.S. And they are scared to death. Like, I actually saw the numbers, and yeah, here's the scary part about it, for them anyway. When that decline happens even one time, it's going to keep declining, piece by piece by piece. And if it slightly goes up, it's only going to do that, slightly go up, and not by a huge margin. That's why many people, or many of them, are panicking, or people like Tucker Carlson. Now, the reason why I'm here to talk about Tucker Carlson is because he claims that non-white people are cheering on the extinction of them. Honestly, Tucker, and you probably won't see this, but in case you do, I don't care. Why? Because we knew this day was going to come. We talked about it here and there. No need to continue to bring it up when we know the inevitable is going to happen. So let me go and see. Let me read this article and see what Tucker is talking about. I bet you it's a bunch of BS, because that's all that spills from his mouth anyway. Tucker Carlson has apparently not known peace since the U.S. Census Bureau recently reported that the population is diversifying. I like how they started that off. He said apparently has not known peace since the population is diversifying. But Tucker Carlson is one of the people that believe that, the white majority was going to last forever. And I'm sure his ancestors felt the same way. And in case y'all are unaware, Tucker Carlson's stepmother, she's the heiress to the Swanson broth empire. The broth that you make, the chicken broth. That's his stepmother. So Tucker Carlson, he comes from a background of privilege because his dad married into wealth. And now he's like the highest paid person on Fox News. He's theorizing that Democrats are not only behind the country's changing demographics, but that non-white people are celebrating the decline of the white race. Now, this is just what he claims. Nothing concrete. This is what he claims, which means it's all in his head as far as we are concerned. Carlson wrestled with the new population data on a Friday night installment of Tucker Carlson Tonight, expressing his concerns surrounding the first drop in self-identified non-Hispanic whites in history and accusing non-white people of cheering on the extinction of white people. Tucker Carlson says recent census data showing a decline in the self-identifying white population proves his theory that Democrats are intentionally accelerating demographic change to replace voters. Now, they say a broke clock is right twice a day. That's probably a good, strong possibility because there is an influx of immigrants coming to the nation. That's without a doubt. We all know that. But also Tucker Carlson, what he will fail to admit, and I'm sure he's not going to mention it as I continue to read, that the birth rate of white people, of PC, has been on the decline for a while now. Why do you think they went out of their way a couple years ago? I forgot what state it was in, to basically ban abortions. They wasn't talking about any other group of women getting an abortion. They were talking specifically to white women because they knew a couple years ago, they knew then that their numbers was about to decline. It's just that now on the Census Bureau, on the document, it shows it. It reflects that notion. That's why when they were talking about abortions, they weren't talking to other groups of women. They weren't talking to non-white women. They could care less what they did. As far as they're concerned, if they did more abortions, the better for them. But they couldn't afford white women to get abortions. And I also saw on the census, they said it was a category. They put a category for biracial, basically a child born of more than one ethnicity. The biracial group was exceedingly high. So that also plays another part into it as well that they don't want to mention as well. But Tucker Carlson felt it was safe to talk about, Democrats and, immigrants and everything like that. And yes, that does play a factor, but it's not the only factor. And like I said, he's not going to bring himself to mention that part, especially that the low birth rate part. The Fox News fixture said he's pointing out the obvious by saying Democrats are intentionally accelerating demographic change in this country for political advantage. And trust me, if the Republicans could do the same thing, and shoot, they probably have, and most likely will, they would have did the same thing, and Tucker Carlson wouldn't have said a damn thing about it. They said we were espousing something called the Great Replacement Theory, a well-known racist fantasy, he said mockingly. Right. In other words, shut up. As leading Democrats put it again and again, who cares? Fewer white people in America is a great thing, and we should celebrate, Carlson continued. And see, Tucker Carlson is saying this stuff because he's talking to a base. He's talking to his base. People who watch him. That's all he's talking about. That's basically what Fox News keeps him around for, is because they know he's a cheerleader or a mascot for that network. He then rolled clips of Bakari Sellers and Anna Navarro discussing the census data on CNN. In one clip, Navarro tells CNN's Don Lemon about a recent trip to the White House. Guess who got Stephen Miller's old office? Her name is Susan Rice, and she's one of us. And guess who is in Ivanka Trump's old office? Julie Rodriguez. She is Cesar Chavez's granddaughter. Did you hear that? And awestruck Carlson said, her name is Susan Rice. She's one of us. Meaning she's a Democrat? No, it means she's not white. Us is the non-white people cheering the extinction of white people. That was on a television. Think about that. It's hard to think about it is that evil. Now, here's the thing. If the numbers was the way that Tucker Carlson wanted it, he would have not made a big deal out of this at all. Because he doesn't care about the decline of any other group. But when it came to his, he has a problem with it. But he can get up there and say all kinds of racist things about black people in a subliminal way. You just have to catch it if you don't catch his code speak. And it's not hard to miss because his code speak is whack. It's trash. He can get up there and say all that stuff about black people day in and day out if he wanted to. And has. And expect, us to just stay quiet and not say anything back. But the minute that something happens involving his people or people that look like him or are white identified, now it's a problem. And I'm going to reflect something that Jay Lava said on his stream. The chaos and the madness that the PC majority has done over the years, whether here or abroad, can you really blame people for feeling this type of way, Tucker Carlson? But see, Tucker Carlson and those like him, especially those who work over at Fox News, have this ego and this arrogancy about them, where I'm white and I'm right. Everything that comes out of my mouth is just accurate. And I remember a few years ago when, white people saying that you would not replace us, you would not replace us. I said that was dog whistle language back then. And it wasn't that long ago. And now look at what's going on. Look at what's happening. They are about to lose their lids. They're losing it now. Look at what happened back in January. It is what it is. Time is evolving, and slowly you are devolving into a space that you have put other groups of people, especially black people, into. Hey, everybody has their run, and your run is almost up. He went on to cite a tweet from Washington Post columnist Jennifer Rubin describing the data as fabulous news and saying now we need to prevent minority white rule. Carlson already peddled the racist replacement theory in the not so distant past. On Wednesday, he appeared on Fox and Friends to suggest that the Biden administration is bringing felons, violent criminals, into our country on purpose to sway the outcome of elections. He made similar comments back in April, which led the head of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, to call for his firing on giving credence to the anti-Semitic racist and toxic conspiracy theory. Oh, it's just wonderful to see Tucker Carlson just squirm like this. And then, like I said, a lot of this stuff is all in his head. A lot of the stuff ain't even original thought. It's like something that was typed up for him, and then he just sits in front of a prompter with this face and reads. I wondered, what's so crazy? Now, what was real funny with Tucker Carlson, I never did a video about it, was when he got confronted by that guy. I forgot what state it was in. Was it Montana? I forget where it was. And Tucker Carlson, they want that smoke. I'm so glad that guy did it, because the guy, he was actually very calm, but it was his tone that got Tucker shook. He wasn't ready for what that man was about to do or could have done. And I think the guy knew where he was at with it, but he knew that if he had did what he did to Tucker Carlson, there would have been consequences for sure. However, it would have been a sight to see. But yeah, Tucker Carlson is only saying this to his base to get them riled up. That's all he's good for. That's all he does. Because I don't consider what Tucker Carlson does as journalism at all. But honestly, whatever they do over at Fox News, I don't consider any of them circus clowns journalists, because they just peddle a bunch of propaganda anyway, and that was proven years ago, but they allowed them to stay on the air. But Tucker, all he's going to do, he's going to probably continue to talk about this, and then he's going to go on to something else, and he's going to go on to something else, and then go on to something else. He does this all the time. I can't take this man seriously. Nobody can. Well, those outside of his base can't. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments.